Hello again, thank you for joining me for another video. So today I thought we would get into the topic of superpowers and what happens as you are developing spiritually. If you're really investing some of your time and attention into the process, you will notice that you have certain abilities show up. And one of the things that I always find intriguing is we've almost come to the a collective sort of acceptance that psychic ability isn't real. There's a general consensus among the population that it isn't real, and that they're made up stories. And there isn't a whole lot of evidence that is brought forward to make it clear how and why these things could be happening and what they are actually related to. So I'm going to try to enlighten some of that mystery in this video so it makes more sense to you, so you understand what might be happening to you and how to actually develop and utilize and navigate a world that's going to tell you that this isn't real, and when you know that your experience is, so that it can actually be fruitful for you. I think that's one of the keys to understanding enlightenment is you really do know those who are putting in the effort and the work by their fruits. This is just really true. At the same time, you protect your fruits. So you don't just feed them to people that will either for jealousy purposes or for competitive reasons or whatever the case may be, are not going to want to see those brought to the light of day. And so you just keep it to yourself, but it can still very much, even kept to yourself, be highly beneficial to your own spiritual growth and understanding of how reality works, and the nature of the true nature of your being as it is expressed in this human form right now. So I think one of the easiest ways to get I see a lot of my insights visually, and so I'm going to just try to convey that, what I see in pictures, in language for you. And what I want you to understand is language is one of our slower methods of processing. So when you get insights and you put it through the language processor before you fully become conscious of what you are perceiving, that's where there's a little bit of a delay. So the knowing of something and a flash of an image is a quicker means, but you have to have engage with a certain level of trust with reality and with your own inner spirit and your inner knowing about these things. You don't have to convey everything in language. You do not have to slow everything down before you fully know it. So keep that in mind, that that language processing does slow things down a little bit. You might know more than you realize you do, but because you can't convey it to yourself or to others in a linguistic format, you might be denying certain levels of achievement that you've already unlocked. So just to put that out there. Now, one of the things that's easy, I think, a nice little metaphor for understanding this stuff. If you imagine your own self in a little encapsulated bubble, you're a unit of selfness that is interacting or in a shared reality with other units of selfness. And there really isn't a barrier except for that what we perceive as barriers for form and function and utility and whatever else reason we give to see form in that way. Within this context, we have the life force, which is keeping things alive. So you have consciousness and you have life force, and it isn't really like it is electricity and it is an energy, but those things don't quite fully describe what it is. There's something more to it that is hard to really describe, because we're using purely physical means usually to measure and describe those currents. And they actually exist outside of what we're measuring also, so we're only getting a portion of that understanding when we say things like electricity and energy. But see it as that in your mind so you can comprehend what I'm saying. And then within your little bubble, there's a little flash. It starts in the middle and it goes out, and it keeps you alive. And it's flashing at a pulse rate of God only knows how many pulses per second. Clearly, way more than we can perceive, because everything that we see and perceive feels solid. But in between, it coming in and out of reality, it's in reality and then it goes back to darkness. And this is pulsing, right? This energy. Now, as that darkness is consciousness, and as it perceives that light that is life force pulsing out, that is the beginning of, that's where you must begin to understand your awakening. And as those two states of being become fused together and more solid, so then there's less break in between, it's less consciousness and the flash of reality, and they become fused together. It's a new substance. So from just consciousness and just this electrical energy, those two together, when they fuse together, and that is part of the spiritual awakening process, when those two things fuse together, it is a new substance is created. And this is what I want you to understand. This new substance that is created, that starts, pooled in the Kundalini area, the holding tank, if you will, because that substance also creates new life, right? It's like infuses the next iteration of you. But that pooled energy can also rise up within yourself. So if you understand, like, if you have any knowledge of the ideas of some of the curses that have been spread on humanity, one of those curses included that pooled energy, just continues to make physical beings and not rise up to an ascended state. So if you've already had a Kundalini awakening, you're already on the other side of that, developing your spiritual gifts so you can renew your connection to the divine nature of reality. Let me give you some insight into that. Let's go down that a little bit further, if you will. So that energy stays pooled there as you develop your conscious awareness and you grow that fountain of life, if you will. So that energy and consciousness grows together at each level of the chakras, and the main chakras. You don't have to call them chakras if you don't want to. Just think logically about how your body works and how you kind of do have separate states of awareness at each level of your body. You have your reproductive, energy centers. You have your digestive, the in and out energy centers. You have like that force of will that kind of sits in your belly when you need to hold your space. Where do you hold your space from? It's from your belly. That's where your will sits. And where your heart sits that's you're interacting not just with the spiritual world, but also with all of the other. That's how we are able to interact with a dense material reality. All those people in their bubbles, they're like one little collective consciousness, and it is through heart to heart connections that we're still able to interact with them, despite, like animals, like we don't speak the same language, but we do connect with them, and that's all heart electricity that's doing that. And then you have the ability to speak into reality, to change the currents, the vibrations, the motion of those very subtle waves of energy. That's what's happening in this area, the chakra that's located at the throat, and can interpret and synthesize this. There's a chakra just above the mouth. This helps to interpret and synthesize large portions of information into something that makes sense. And then we have like this sight that it kind of interacts between what we are perceiving with the visually, and also the visual images in our mind that's happening at this level, and then more of the cerebral memories of like evolutionary memories and connected to large scale time. So this is all happening in the upper chakras here, where you can get outside of 100 years. You're looking at vast swaths of time, and then beyond that you're getting outside of planetary restrictions. So there's different levels of fields to this and different ways to interact with it. And at each of these stages of developing awareness, the consciousness interacts with the energy at that level, the field of energy at that level, and can grow at the new substance there. This new substance brings with it what appear to be supernatural gifts. They are higher order gifts. It's like this all has kind of a little bit of a safety mechanism to it, for the same reason that a 3-year-old can't have a baby, because a 3-year-old would not be able to get food and shelter and all the things necessary to support a baby. So our developmental abilities come online as we are able to perceive these things and handle it. And then it's just a matter of integrating and living amongst those who don't. And I think that's where so many of us struggle, because we look exactly the same, right? You might have people who are 20, 30 years older than you that do not understand this level of awakening. So it's not strictly a physical and biological mechanism. Now the spiritual component comes in, where this is more of a soul level, the consciousness interacting with the substance, the energy of life itself. And at each place here we have holding little holding wells, which can grow and become enlarged. And as they become enlarged, these holding tanks for this new energy, there's gifts that they only come online by way of that energy. So and another way to say that is like, you need protein for your mitochondria to flash. You need calcium for some of the neural networks to work, potassium, calcium, these kind of things for just basic electricity to function, right? In your body, you need water, you need all of these things. There's also spiritual energy, and it has to be interacted with consciousness. Consciousness perceives it, and as it perceives it, becomes a new thing, a new form, and then is grown. And so as you sit in contemplation, as you sit in meditation, as you do the yoga work, you can clean out what you are perceiving, what you are paying attention to, so that you can come into the true state of your being. I feel like that's enough information to get you started. And then I'll just maybe do a second video if you're interested, which goes into like what each of these fields, what kind of gifts come at each of these fields. But again, you can kind of dig into that a little bit if you just stop and contemplate what energy is necessary at that level, and your gifts are usually attached to that. And people have different kinds of gifts, and that's the weird thing, and that takes a little bit of understanding. So it isn't like, oh, I want to have this siddhi, I want to know how to do this. It's kind of related to what you need based on your environmental cues, and who you already are as a soul. That's what's the fruit that's gonna come out. That doesn't so it's not like, let me go try to become clairvoyant. Clairvoyant might already be in you, but you have to develop your ability to hold that energy, and that energy is pure. Everything is seen within that energy. It is complete consciousness. So as you know, we're material, biological beings. We aren't super conscious of all of that. But in the spiritual realms, in these realms, you are conscious of everything, because that's how the substance is made. You must be conscious or it's not made. I hope that makes sense. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and we can dig into this more next time. Take care. Till then. Bye.